Hello.
Hi, Rita.
Hey. I'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
Michael, I love the law books. I got to get me some similar wallpaper.
Oh, you're muted, Michael. We can't hear you.
Thank
There we
you.
go.
Thank you.
Hi, Eric.
Hi. Hi.
Hello, everybody. So we're just waiting on Melissa.
Yeah, I think she was having a little internet trouble, but it sounded like she was on her way.
Okay. This is iced tea in my highball glass. I really wanted it to be
Sure.
whiskey, but.
Yeah. This is seltzer. Seltzer.
Oh, yeah, right.
It is. It really is.
This is a highball in my highball.
Oh, Jeff.
There you go.
Good. Keep going, Jeff. I'm glad somebody here has the right idea.
But someone here is honest anyway.
There's Melissa.
Hello, I'm here. My camera is just updating, so I'll pop it on when it finishes.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Melissa, if you're
that's
okay
fine.
with this.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm calling to order a meeting of the Shutesbury Selectboard. Today is August 16th, 2022, and we are doing this meeting remotely via Zoom. And I'm just going to go through the agenda first, and then we'll move into the rest of the meeting. So we have public comment, then we'll be reviewing minutes. Then at 5:42, ZBA introductions and appointments discussion. At 5:55, we will be having an executive session to discuss the fire chief contract, and then meeting with the fire chief at, or with the candidate at 6:25. 6:30, review the disposal contract with Casella. After that, ARPA funding requests, just planning only, no votes on that. Then discussing the new Shutesbury Building Committee, the Concom enforcement order at 6:50, 7 o'clock, response letter from the select board to Amanda Alex's petition along with other people, and then town administrator updates. Is there anything? Yeah, Becky?
Rita, I just want to say that I believe we're going to have Lenny Zerwanka join the executive session at about.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, good.
So that the last bit of negotiation directly with.
Okay, great. Thanks for that clarification. I know we'd had a request for Council on Aging appointment that didn't make it onto the agenda, and maybe I can, I'll check in with the select board later on to see if we would want to add that to the agenda. Or do you want to
There's
decide now?
Also, the historical commission is the same thing. There are a couple people. Didn't see that?
When did that come in?
I don't know, email for yesterday or something. I saw it in my
Friday.
email.
It was a Friday
Okay, I missed that.
afternoon, yeah, Friday afternoon.
Um, Yeah,
It was,
which is when we're putting the agenda out. Let's do those at the next meeting then. We'll do all three of them. Yeah. So I want to open up the floor for public comment. And please use the raise hand feature if you have a comment that you want to make. Elizabeth?
Thank you, Rita. Two questions. One is I didn't get a chance to see all of the agenda, but I'm hoping that the FRTA can be put on the agenda soon.
And maybe you can send us just an email about what that is. What the,
Oh, sure. I thought you
I mean, I
received,
know what the FRTA is, but what is the
Sure.
nature of the
I
topic?
thought that you had received a couple of communications from Jeanette Stockton.
I met with Jeanette, but there was nothing specific to be put on an agenda at this point.
Okay. I will make sure. And the other is because I didn't get to see the agenda, is there a possible appointee for the ZBA tonight?
That is on the agenda. I mentioned that.
I
That's
missed it.
at 5:42.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just in reviewing the agenda.
Thank you very much. Do I make a comment now about that or when it comes up?
No, it comes up if the board opens it up for public comment.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, any other public comments? Okay, hearing none, why don't we go ahead and review the minutes of August 2nd, 2022? Any discussion?
Oh, no, but I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from August 22nd,
Okay.
2022.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
No,
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. I want to stick to the schedule because if people read the agenda and it's at 5:42, I don't want to start the discussion about the ZBA appointments until that time, because I know that there were a number of comments that had emails that had been received by the select board. So Becky, is there anything, perhaps just the ARPA request we can talk about for a couple of minutes?
Could I just give an update on a Verizon situation that impacted
Oh,
a
yeah.
group of people in town? So I just want to be sure that everyone knows that the Verizon lines have been out for those folks in town that did not transfer their use over to the MLP, to the Shutesbury.net. Those folks have been without internet service since Thursday. And we finally got, Verizon finally found the problem and solved it this afternoon. The air conditioning in the hut located by the school had malfunctioned. It had stopped working. And there were some electrical circuits that were fried in the hut. So all the attempts that were being made outside of Shutesbury to fix the problem weren't working. This is a great concern to the community, and we might want to contact Verizon about it, because it turns out it's our, there were about 7 different people on life support that was dependent on their Verizon phone lines in that group of people. And so we want to make sure that Verizon is more responsive and that we figure out a way to be sure this doesn't happen again.
Becky, just as an aside, I've heard at multiple levels that Verizon has stopped maintaining their copper lines in the way that they used to prior to people going on to Wi-Fi and internet provided services for phone. Just so you know, it's not just Shutesbury, it's across the board.
Good
So,
to know.
so these are landlines that weren't working.
Correct.
Does that explain all the Verizon trucks that have been in town the last week or two, or they've been all over? There's been lots of trucks and wires and everything. I don't know what they're doing.
No, that is a separate project. They started near the cell tower, and they were running the cell tower wire into Amherst, and they've gone down Leverett Road, and now they're going across Pratt Corner Road, and will be going into Amherst that way. We did get a couple of trucks in today. Kristen secured the trucks to assist with the problem and told them they couldn't leave till it was fixed. But it did get fixed, which is the good news.
But I assume part of the problem is there are so few households that are now using Verizon.
Sure.
They don't see it as they don't feel a lot of pressure. So
Yeah.
we just
So
got to
if-
make sure that for people who haven't chosen, that we make it clear to Verizon that they still need service.
Yeah, and I can prep a letter for the next meeting on if you all would entertain communication with Verizon one more time.
I think that's
Sure.
Great.
okay. Just a couple of minutes, and is there any other updates, Becky, that makes sense to move forward in the next 2 minutes?
If I stall long enough, the 2 minutes will pass.
Well, one has passed, so. Okay, everybody's in the room, right? There's nobody hanging in any kind of waiting rooms or anything, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Why don't I go ahead and I'll just speak very slowly for the first minute. So the next item on our agenda is to meet the 3 people who have expressed interest in serving on the Zoning Board of Appeals. And just as a little refresher, the Zoning Board of Appeals is currently down to 1 person. This is Jeff Lacey, and it's not a great situation to be in. I think fortunately there hasn't been a lot of proposals that the ZBA had to take under consideration. So Becky, as the town administrator, put out a notice and asked for people who were interested in serving on the ZBA to please submit something in writing to the select board, which does the appointments. And we've had 3 responses, and those 3 folks are with us this evening. And thank you, Jeff, for coming too, because I think that would be very helpful if we have questions for you about ZBA functions. So I'll start at the top of my screen. Michael Pill is here with us this evening, has expressed interest, Mary David and John Erstock. So I think what we want to do is maybe give each one of you just a couple of minutes to tell us why you're interested in serving on the ZBA and if there are any special skills or knowledge that you bring to this really important position. So we'll go backwards. We'll start with you, John, since I introduced you last, and then Mary, and then Michael.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I kind of came to interest in the ZBA when I was promising myself as I settled into retirement, which I'm finally doing, that I would find some way to be of service to the town. I wanted to give back. And I became aware of a pretty significant shortage on the part of the ZBA, just really in need of some members. So it was really a rather simple connection for me of saying, listen, the town really needs people in this capacity. I'm ready and willing to serve, and I think I'm going to try to at least find out what the possibilities are for where the greatest need seems to exist. The other thing is, I guess I really love living in Shutesbury. It's a really wonderful town, and it occurs to me one of the reasons that it just functions so well and is so nice to be part of is that it has a good set of zoning laws that we operate by, and the whole notion of having a process by which thoughtful hearings of people's requests regarding special permits and variances and appeals to zoning matters, is a fairly significant capacity in which to really operate. So it'd be a steep learning curve for me. I don't particularly bring a legal mind or a lot of experience with this, but I have a willingness to learn and to be of service if that seems like a good fit. Here I am.
Great, thanks, John. Okay, Mary.
Yes, hi, I'm Mary. My family has enjoyed Shutesbury and Lake Wyola. We're on our 4th generation here. And I live full-time. I'm a full-time resident now. I live in my house on the lake that my son actually built for me. I'm retired. And I, had a very busy career, but I'm now looking at volunteer opportunities and helping the town in ways that I can as a volunteer. And the zoning board and learning rules and regulations have been something that's on my list, my to-do list. And with the opportunity popping up, it gives me an opportunity to learn more about that and help participate in that. I think I also provide a different perspective, living on the lake, to some of the conversations that occur. So I'm very happy to pursue an interest in the zoning board.
Thanks, Mary. Michael?
Well, when I have to admit to being a lawyer, I sometimes say that my children grew up to do honest work, because you have to be a zealous advocate for whoever hires you within the bounds of the law. I suppose the downside is because I've sued the town, I've had any number of land use conflicts with people who live in town. I don't, when you do that for 40 years, you learn that it's never personal. So I don't see that any of that would prevent me from being an objective decision maker. If I did, I would recuse myself. I have acknowledged in the past that because for years I represented W.D. Coles Inc., and I consider both Binda Jones and Evan Jones friends, if there was some case where they objected to something, I would have to disqualify myself, because that's just classic conflict of interest. I suppose with expertise, while I am not retired, I tell people I'm a baby boomer who should have thought about retirement about 35 years sooner. Land use regulation is what I do. I litigate a lot of zoning cases along with real property rights cases. I'm the current author of a multi-volume treatise or commentary on land law, and that includes a chapter on zoning. That said, in fairness to the non-lawyer applicants, you know, they being retired have time, I think, to get to the bottom of a lot of this stuff. And there are two treatises, the Mass Continuing Legal Education Handbook of Massachusetts Zoning Law, and a treatise called, that's a Massachusetts Zoning Manual. And then there's the Handbook of Massachusetts Land Use and Planning Law by a guy named Mark Bobrowski. And I think that purchasing both of those, especially for people who are retired and have time, would enable them to basically get up to speed and find a lot of their own answers. And to the extent they're not able to do that, Shutesbury is blessed to have one of the best lawyers I know, Donna McNichol, as its town counsel. I'll take on most anybody as an opponent, but I think very carefully before I get on the other side of any legal case with Donna. She is that good. So I certainly, you know, would rate, I think it's important to emphasize that I don't think whatever expertise I have makes me any more qualified, because zoning board members are traditionally lay people, and especially where you've got retired folks who, you know, from what I have perfectly good minds and have some time to put in. I think you should treat it as everybody being equal. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Michael. So Eric and Melissa, do you have questions for any of the three candidates? And I want to make clear there are 2 slots. We still have a 3-member ZBA, and we need 2 alternates. Is that right, Jeff? Are they called alternates?
That's correct. We need 2 full members and 2 alternates at this point.
And just to be clear, the alternates, if one of the members had to recuse themselves or was absent, then you always have to have a 3-person board voting. Is that correct?
It depends on what the type of permit or action is. Just to have a meeting, you can have 2. But usually we're acting on something. Just if it's a site plan review, you can have 2. Most anything else, you need 3.
Okay, great, thank you. So Melissa and Eric, questions for John, Michael, or Mary?
Well, I think it's pretty clear from Michael said it himself that most zoning board appeals are members of our lay people, so to speak, members of the community. I mean, I'm absolutely positive Michael's very qualified to do all this stuff. I'm a little bit worried about the ties that he has. I mean, I understand I'd recuse myself and all that, but how do you recuse yourself from basically everything, which is what I would almost think you'd have to do in the case of Jones or Coles, whatever.
Yeah, I'd like Michael to answer that, and then I had a comment too.
I've thought about that, and I think that yeah, so many people in town have a boundary on Cole's land that they would be included in the notice. And I think it's fair to say that if nothing verbally or in writing was received from them, then I wouldn't see any conflict. If in a particular case, they showed up at a hearing or submitted something in writing. In other words, if they took an interest in it or took a position in it, then I think I would have to recuse myself. And I should note that's one reason why I think the zoning board is probably more appropriate than the planning board, which often gets into much more controversial issues that involve a lot more people and bigger projects. And in any event, you know, I've lived here for 40 years and I feel like I should give something back, but I think it's also important that if you have that reservation, you might be better off to pick the other the other folks. I just don't know. I think if I didn't think it was an issue, manageable issue, because while certainly Coles and the Joneses have really gotten into it in any number of planning board cases, at least so far as I know, I think that their involvement in any zoning board of appeals case is pretty sparse. Maybe Jeff can speak to that.
Jeff, can you enlighten us as to whether or not there's been projects related to Coles before the ZBA?
Generally, the way our zoning is structured, the zoning board of appeals handles small stuff, individual houses, variances for people's driveways, solar projects in someone's backyard, home modifications at the lake on individual single properties. That's pretty much what we do. The planning board does the big stuff, which would be solar, residential subdivision, shared driveways, things that involve a lot of land, and roadways and driveways and things. So we intentionally divided up the work that way. And that would pretty much keep Coles out of the ZBA's normal work. Because they do big stuff and the ZBA does little stuff. I mean, that's as simple as I can put it. That doesn't say there wouldn't be a conflict. I mean, Evan lives in town. He has property at the lake. If he proposed something, or one of his abutters did, then I don't know. That could get a little complicated, and Michael might have to accuse himself in those types of situations.
Okay, Melissa, do you have any questions for any of the candidates?
No, well, there is one question I do tend to ask everybody, so I guess I can ask it here. Can you give an example or a time where you had to vote where you had to make a decision against what you personally believed for the better of a larger goal? That makes sense. One of you can answer that.
Is that directed to all of us or just
Yeah.
me?
Yeah,
It's a general question. Give me an example of a time where you had to personally decide against what your personal feeling was for the better of a larger goal or a larger picture.
Do you want me to answer that first?
sure.
Okay. Here's what it probably helps to be a lawyer who's been involved in this stuff. The state constitution has, in beautiful 18th century prose, a provision that says it is the obligation of judges to be as impartial as the lot of humanity will admit. And case law applies that to what are called quasi-judicial administrative decision makers, which includes zoning boards. And I guess one of the advantages of being a lawyer is I do that all the time, for gosh sakes. I have a PhD in Marxian economic theory. I think capitalism is the bane of our existence. And here I work for business people, and I represent people fighting, advocating for their property rights disputes. So I guess my answer would be every day of my life, I have to deal with that. And so I don't think I would have any problem. You know, you should make a decision as a zoning board member based on facts and your understanding of the law, which a lay person can, I think, get a pretty good handle on from the two books I mentioned. I hope that would be my answer to the question. And if there was something, you know, for example, if there was, say, some applicant who I'd had some horrific personal dispute with, I'm not talking about, you know, public issues or land use issues, or town meeting issues, then I would recuse myself. That's what a judge does. You look into yourself, and if you're convinced you can be impartial, go ahead. If not, you recuse yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks,
So-
Michael. So to give Mary and John an opportunity, and then we're gonna move this along because we do have a scheduled executive session.
So I guess my example isn't in zoning, but my career in nursing, I was a director for critical care trauma emergency room and a vice president. And it frequently came to the fact that, you had to follow regulations from the state that you're in, the insurance companies, budgets. So many times you make the case and you have to look at where does all the regulations fall and divvying up resources that needed to be used and what the projects would be. So it was always a negotiation to divvy up short resources, but to make sure you're serving the community and your patients the best way you could.
John?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. The whole notion of doing something for the greater good, I guess, is so high in my own view of what is the right thing to do that nothing's coming to mind actually, particularly regarding a conflict in that regard. If I had something I felt so personally about that, strong about that, and I realized it was against that the greater good was served by the opposite of my opinion, maybe that's a time for me to recuse myself. I don't know, but as I say, I think working for the good of the greater good is really what it's all about.
Okay, I'm just going to take, Michael, I've seen your hand up. I'll take a brief comment.
Great, thank you. So I do want to appreciate Jeff's situation, and I think the select board should definitely come away with 2 people to fill the slots. And I guess I just want to pick up on Michael Peel's comments, because my comments are about how the board considers Michael. I'd say it's not anything personal at all, but I think his points that he made actually are problematic, that he currently still represents the largest landowner in town and has sued the town and has taken adversarial positions on land issues. So we're in the same realm. And so I think that's problematic. I appreciate that Jeff said there's not a lot of instances, but if we have people where there's not that problem, and I think practically speaking, the whole idea is we want to have people who don't have to recuse, because if you have someone recusing on a 3-person board, that's problematic. The last thing I would say, and I want to remind the select board of this, earlier this year, the select board voted unanimously to turn down 2 planning board associate members, Ken Holt and Rob Kibler, because you all thought that they had an agenda and it would be inappropriate for them to serve. And I feel like in this case, while Michael might not have a stated agenda, he has professional history of 40 years representing clients, and that even as an associate member on the ZBA, I think that would be compromising. And if the select board is going to be consistent and fair in how they considered residents, if you're going to turn down planning board people for a perceived agenda, this is even more clear cut. So thank you.
Okay, are we ready to go ahead and take a vote? Eric, Melissa?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so do I hear any a motion for an appointment? Elizabeth, we're not going to take any more comments. We're way behind here. So
I'll make a motion. We appoint Mary David to the ZBA Board of Appeals.
Second.
is there a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Peace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Errol, aye. Do I hear a motion for the other ZBA position?
I move that we nominate John Airstock for the second position for the ZBA.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, no. Okay, we're going to do an alternate. Is there a motion?
I'd like to wait and see till we have more, ask more people, wait and see if we have more people to apply. That's what I would vote for.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Thanks, Jeff, for coming. Everybody's more than welcome to stay, although we are going into an executive session. You'd have to come back around 6:25. It might be a little bit later than that.
Thank you all. Take
Okay.
care.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm doing this correctly.
Yeah, I know you do. In a few minutes, I
So-
just want to make sure that Becky Torres doesn't pull something because this is when he does it.
Elizabeth, you're on speaker, so we can hear you. And
Thank
it's
you,
really,
Elizabeth. Appreciated the comment.
This has been reported to me by several people. Pardon me.
Well, you
I
could
know.
talk to me too.
so
You announced the intention of
Yes.
the session. and
we
then
are,
we vote.
the select board is now going into executive session for reason number 2. And that is to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. In this case, the candidate for fire chief, Leonard Serwanka.
Okay, so now there's
and-
a motion, yeah. Oh, yeah,
So,
a motion and
that's-
return to open session, yeah.
okay, so that's my motion.
That you announce and then someone.
Okay, is there a
seconds the
motion?
To enter and return to,
Okay,
I'll make a motion to enter into executive session and return to open session.
okay, is there a second?
Second,
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. Okay, we are going, please absent yourselves, anybody who is not on the select board.
Becky, is the waiting room turned on?
It's gonna be
so.
turned on now. I still have a guest that needs to leave.
Yeah,
Catherine
you
Powers?
as host, Becky, you put her into a waiting room. If you make me co-host, I can do that if you're not sure how.
Is it,
There she is. So,
then we have to put her back? Later, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
okay,
we'll have to watch the waiting room. Yeah.
so you have to stop recording, please, Becky.
Could we just ask her to leave again? I bet she
Fine.
wasn't.
Done.
You're
she's not on
comfortable with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's not on
That's okay. All right, the August 16th, 2022 meeting of the Shutesbury Select Board is now back in session, and it is 6:40 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. We took us a little bit longer than we had expected. And the next item on the agenda is to approve the fire chief contract. And I wanted to introduce Lenny Zerwanka. For those of you who don't know Lenny, he has served on lives in town, has served on the Shutesbury Fire Department for 17 years. Lenny. And he has been unanimously selected as our Shutesbury's new fire chief. And we have just negotiated a contract that will go through June 30th, 2025. And Lenny has already been operating, acting fire chief, so he has gotten his feet wetter than they already were after 17 years. And he will be full-time. He's been doing some part-time work. He will be full-time permanent fire chief. And, you know, as of today, as of signing of this contract, if it's voted by the select board, and as of August 29th, he will be in the at the fire department full-time. So until the 29th, he's working a partial schedule so he can finish up his work, his other job. So we want to congratulate you, and do I hear a motion to approve the contract for Leonard Zawanka as fire chief?
Should we approve the contract with Lenny Zawanka as fire chief?
And
Second.
do I hear a second? Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye. And thanks, Lenny, for being here this evening. Look forward to working with you.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Okay. So the next item on the agenda is reviewing an amended disposal contract with Casella. And Becky, is that something you need to put up for us, or do you want to just describe what
I
the
can describe
amendments
it
are?
for you quickly. So when they transferred the fuel adjustment from the short-term to the long-term part of the disposal contract, it wasn't fully, they made an error in the formula that they put in there. And so what they're asking is that we put back in the same fuel adjustment formula that's in the short-term disposal that the board already agreed to. And that's what they're asking for us to vote, for you to vote tonight. And I can bring that up in just a minute if you want to see it, but it's the same formula that was based on the $4. So if the cost goes over $4, we pay the difference between $4 and it had gotten up to about $5.75 on the diesel. So we are required to pay the $1.75 for the miles to delivery, and that was agreed upon by the recycling committee. Originally, the contract had requested, I believe, anything over $3, but the tough negotiators on recycling got it up to $4, which is, and especially now when the prices have dropped down to $5 for diesel, we will still have that difference, that adjusted amount to pay in the contract, but they have given us, they have not charged it in the short term after all. So the town overall has saved money on that part and will be asked to pay it into the future as we make this adjustment. So it'd be retroactive as of July 1st, when the original contract was signed.
Okay, are there questions?
Yes.
I already have one.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you very much. Yep.
Thank you, Lenny.
Yep.
I better help you out.
Melissa, or
Yeah.
All right. Take
Thank
care.
you.
I have no questions.
Eric, any questions about the,
No, I'm okay with it. It sounds, yeah, it's fine.
Melissa? You good?
Good.
Okay. All right. So Becky, what are we re-signing the contract with them?
Yes,
Okay.
the long-term disposal contract for 5 years.
Okay.
with
All right.
only that change.
So do I hear a motion to approve the amended disposal contract with Casella? Is
So moved.
Second,
there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye. Okay, next item on the agenda is just to go through the ARPA, kind of where things stand with the ARPA funding requests. And, you know, we're not entertaining any requests this evening, but rather looking at where things stand. So that we have a spreadsheet that Becky's been maintaining, showing what's there, what the kind of requests have been. And do you want to share that, Becky?
Yep. Okay. 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 Sorry for the delay. Sorry, Rita, it was right in my the packet from last week and it Yep, I'm sorry. The file became corrupted and that's why I'm struggling to find a second or earlier one. But right now it's not opening.
You didn't send us one, did you, Becky?
Rita, could we move on to another agenda item? Let me try to get this corrupted file fixed.
Sure, yeah. I think what basically all we were going to do was just look at sort of where things stood as of now. And I know that there are still some requests possibly pending out there. So I just want to kind of do a regular check-in as to where things stand with the ARPA funds. So yeah, we can definitely move ahead. So the next item on the agenda is the building committee appointments, and I want to pass over this this evening since we do not have the applicants with us tonight, and we just where we stand, we have 3 active applications and 2 kind of pending applications for the building committee, and we will have, I hope, a full group for the next select board meeting to do appointments, and we've gotten some really good applications, so we're very feeling very positive about that. And our next meeting will be, I believe, is August 30th. So we will be doing appointments at that time. Any questions from the select board? Or Becky, did you have a comment?
I got the file open finally. Yes.
Okay, well, why don't we finish this and then we can go back to the ARPA. So Melissa or Eric?
That's fine.
I see a hand. I don't know if that's you, Frank, if you have a quick question.
Who are the 5 applicants now?
I don't want to give the names right now till we have everybody confirmed.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there are three people that have applied, including you, and then two that have expressed interest but haven't sent us something in writing. So I don't want to release their names.
Okay.
The other 2 are Jeff Quackenbush and Steve Sullivan. Is that good? Yeah. Okay, thanks. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the Conservation Commission enforcement order that was received by the select board. And I just want to make a couple of comments about the process that we went through with the Conservation Commission and kind of how we move forward from here. So for those of you who are not aware, the Conservation Commission on Thursday evening issued an enforcement order regarding lot 032. And I have some issues with the enforcement order and the way in which the enforcement order proceeded. And what I had asked prior to there was no advance notice to the select board, or maybe a few hours notice that the Conservation Commission was going to execute an enforcement order on Thursday night. We were asked Thursday morning to come to a meeting. I was not available, nor was Eric. And I know Melissa was able to make some changes at the last minute, and Becky wasn't available to go on such short notice to that meeting. I asked that day if the Conservation Commission, I had sent a request to the Conservation Commission to hold off on moving forward without having some consultation with the select board. That did not happen. And I take issue with that. I think the chair indicated that this was to be a collaborative, friendly process, which it felt anything but how it proceeded. But we're going to move on, and we are requesting a meeting to get on the agenda for the next Conservation Commission meeting. I know the The one that's coming up on the 25th probably doesn't make sense, so it probably will be the first meeting in September, if that works for them. In the meantime, the order is out there, and we will be responding to the order and meeting with the commission to talk both about process and about the content in the order. So Melissa, I know you were at the meeting. Eric, you've seen the enforcement order. I don't know if you want to add anything to what I've had to say.
I attended the meeting. I didn't participate as a select board member. She did ask if I had any comments to say, and I told her I was there, just to see and watch that meeting as it pertained to, the larger picture, but that was pretty much it. And the commission was pretty adamant about the enforcement order coming to us. So that was pretty much all I gleaned from that meeting, or the process that they went through.
The only thing I would say is that it did seem a little sudden, I guess would be the word word. I'm not saying it was wrong. It was just like, let's talk about this before we start having enforcement orders or whatever it is. It's like, it seems a little over the top to me, but that's, as you say, that's water under the bridge to what it is. I think ultimately we all want the same thing. Nobody in this room or in the town wants to build a library on a place where there's no water, or where the water's bad, or where the wetlands are disturbed, or all the things that are taught. No one wants to do that. That's very clear to me. There's been some sort of accusatory language about that, going back and forth about like people are doing things, in a sleazy manner to try to slide something through. At least that was implied. I don't believe that's true. And I just hope we can just move ahead and do what we have to do to rectify the situation. That's all.
Okay, I don't think there's anything else that needs to be, but so stay tuned. I will be getting in touch with Miriam. And are both of you available on September 8th, which is a Thursday night? We can get on their agenda. Yes. Okay. So
I should be. I think. I'd have to look. I think so.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and ask that we get put on the agenda then for September 8th.
What time do they meet? Does anybody know?
They meet at 7 o'clock. So we'll try to get on as early as possible that evening. They have a meeting on the 25th, but they have hearings already scheduled, and we probably wouldn't start till 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and that doesn't work for me.
I hear you there.
So I'm making the executive decision to ask for September 8th. You guys are okay with that?
September 8th does look like it's good to me, as far as I can
Okay.
tell. My machine says I'm free.
Okay. Your machine says. Okay, all right. The next item on the agenda is just the petition response letter from the select board, which was sent to Amanda Alex on behalf of the, and who was the lead person for, I think, 17 or 20 petitioners. And I'm not sure what, if anything, we need to cover. Becky put this on. I didn't really.
I just wanted to make sure that.
Just acknowledge.
Yeah.
Okay.
That it was sent out, so those in the public that are interested are aware of the development.
Okay. All right. And the last thing on the agenda is town administrator updates.
Okay. So we will be having a visit from the MSBA on Thursday. at the school. They are coming out to look at the heating system as well as, well, they're coming out to look at the heating system. We will be walking by the roof and chatting briefly about the roof condition. Our legislators are still attempting to be persuasive about the roof issue. We are moving ahead with releasing the bid for the design for the roof because we have no reason to have confidence currently that the roof will be funded through a grant at this point, although our legislators are working towards that. Also, we will be wrapping up the HVAC work that has been done over the summer in the next 2 weeks. The controls and the valves have all been received finally, which gives the contractor, which is our local contractor, Jamrog, time to install 63 valves in the school, which is going to make for a wonderful change in the operation of the heating system at the school. And the teachers are looking forward to having classrooms where we can control the temperatures better than we were controlling them with the pneumatic controls. Other projects the town is working on are moving ahead. We're going to be reviewing the MVP study in the 1st of September. I've requested an audit of what happened in the rejection of the MVP grant the first time. So we hope to get insight. We can present a better application or we'll learn how to refine it and hopefully get awarded next year with the guidance of our local coordinator. We're looking forward to the library building committee will also be appointed hopefully at the next select board meeting, along with our local building committee. The projects in town that are very frustrating are the culvert. The culvert has been sidelined for another year because of the electrical pole not being moved. The contractor was unable to pencil us in fully until the pole was moved, but the pole wasn't moved until July, and now they don't have availability until the middle of November. It's deemed high hazard for us to use the detour, the local town detour in the summer months with ice. Having buses going up and down Windy Road isn't feasible. So that project has been put on hold for another year. There's background noise. Someone has their mic on. I'd ask that you turn it off. Thank you. So some of the bigger projects this year are put on hold. The big event this week was the clothes drop box, which is bright baby blue and unmistakable, is been set down at lot 032. And the recycling committee has sent out instructions for use. Within a year, we will no longer be able to throw clothing into the trash. So having this facility locally available should benefit the residents. And that's all I have for tonight.
Okay. Any questions, Eric or Melissa? Okay.
I was wondering how we have to go back to the ARPA funding thing. We never really got to that because Becky couldn't find it.
Okay, do you want to pull it up, Becky, just to?
Oh dear Jesus, I closed it. Okay. Here it is.
Other way.
So the main categories that were still blank were from the Energy Commission and Climate Control Committee. And Michael DeCara is reached out for help in getting more solid and figures for these. And so we will have them for the next meeting.
Becky, can you scroll to the top of that page? Because you don't.
The 225,
That's what it was the 525, just showing the 525 that we've allocated, approved $300,000 for the school roof. And that leaves a balance of 225, and then the requests are below.
and this has to be corrected. This was the winning bid. So I'll update that. This was, I believe,
Okay.
30. But I'll get the exact figure.
Yeah, and I think the MLP numbers are in the wrong column. The first column is the request column, right? And then the second is what we've allocated.
No, they,
Oh, I see. Yeah, we
yeah,
we
no,
should,
I
yeah,
just marked it with approved. I only have one column for all the.
yeah, okay.
for
We
the
should,
Contractors that bid,
yeah, we should,
and I'll put approved. Yeah, I can do it that way.
I think we did the sound system, didn't we?
Yes, and the fire department.
Fire department, right?
Yeah, because that was a safety
Yep.
Yep.
issue.
I'm not sure, did we do the final? Because Eric was coming back with different.
Oh, maybe we didn't. Did you
I
get
don't
a,
think we
did we have a number?
finalized the fire, I mean, the sound system, but we may have. We
I'm not
did-
sure. I have to go up and look at the sound system that's actually at the fire department and see if we can, maybe we can use that according to my sources. So, and which would be great if we could, because it wouldn't really cost us much, or if anything, to fix it, to get it, so we could use it. So we could, I wouldn't count that as use needed right now.
Okay. Yeah,
It's not a lot
I
of
thought
money.
we had voted on it, but I might be mistaken. It was a few meetings ago. Okay, so we're just showing the few items in the approved column.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I believe the tents were supported and the town meeting
Yes.
tent was supported.
I'm not gonna bust them over $3.90.
Okay. So basically, without, the issue will be, even without the Energy Committee's requests, we're in the negative. with
Right, but
Current requests, but there's a lot to look at.
okay. Melissa, Eric, any other questions about this?
I was just gonna have Becky go over to the approved column and total that up rather than the requests. Because those are the ones that we've talked about actually using the money for.
Oh,
For the requests we are, but for the others.
Yep.
Under, or maybe not.
No, it was,
Becky, hit escape. There you go.
but that's not the right total.
it isn't, yeah.
And you have to bring it.
This has to be put over. Okay. This has to be copied over here. And this has to be corrected because the 300 is now part of it. Uh, Six.
I think we get the gist. You might want to do these calculations without continuing this meeting. Yeah. But yeah, that will show when the formulas are straightened out as to what the balance is. But we started with 525, approved those 3, 4, 5 items. So there is still a balance, pretty, healthy balance of funds. So we'll get the exact Fuss and O'Neill, the final number. Okay, so do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second,
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye. Okay, good night, everybody. Thank you for coming.
Becky, I'm gonna give you a suggestion. Use as, go up a little bit, because you want to use 225 as your total, since we took out the 3.
I included,
Oh, you
no,
did,
I
okay,
said it. Yeah.
all right.
So I
Okay.
put in the 300, put this back at 5, and it should be working, but I'm not sure what's wrong with the formula now.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Thanks,
night.
Good night.
Dishwasher's on.
Good.
Why isn't it working?